Hello everybody, welcome to another Valheim video. Today I've got some news for you about some new content coming to the channel, but first I'd like to apologize to Panand because the interview that you're about to watch about Panand's experience on Path of Magic as one of the most dedicated players to the server, this was recorded 3 months ago and it took me forever to get it out, so I'm sorry about that, Panand. I really messed up there. But that being said, this was an absolutely incredible learning lesson. You see, I want to do a lot more of these interviews, but I've realized that this format of me editing them for 2 or 3 hours each time is impossible. I can't interview as many people as I would like to. So moving forward, all interviews will be live streamed. That way, they're instantly available, anybody can watch them, and I don't have to be bottlenecked by the time it takes to edit and post the content. This part for me was very stressful because I felt like I let people down when I didn't do it quickly. So if I just live stream it, then there is no letting anyone down. There's no waiting for the content, and I'm pretty sure this will be the better solution for these conversations moving forward. But for now, without further ado, let's get into Panand's guide to Path of Magic. So what are you interested in showing us today, Pan?
To talk about what were my steps to progress from meadows, from the starting point up to plains, mistlands, and ashlands. Well, I had 2 playthroughs here in Path of Magic. Right now I'm as Aki character, which is like no magic person, and Aki is like past plains, but he didn't visit Mistlands too much at the moment. And my earlier playthrough as Panand, Panand reached Ashlands and is kind of like mage or battle mage character. So I wanted to talk about how did my progression go, what I was like caring for, and where did I spend my time. Also talking about some mods I use and how they interact with Path of Magic mechanics. Maybe let's go.
That sounds awesome. So just so I'm clear, this is basically your second like main character on Path of Magic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you started this character knowing more about the mechanics in these things. I'd say you know what it's like to experience them more than I do because I was developing stuff, but I did that for so long that I wasn't really in touch anymore with the new experience, right? So it's funny how often like I learn what to do from like players telling me how the mechanics ended up. Like you figured out that whetstone thing, and like that ended up being more useful for the other players than the thing I actually did. And now there's actually a use. Yeah, the grindstones, exactly. Yeah, and that used to be a useless item, whereas now it has a purpose of protecting the other stuff. So like you gave it a use, and that's why like even though you countered the mechanism I did, I thought that was really cool, and so like that's in there because of you.
I will show it later in my base where it first when there was first implementation of it. Well, let's say the context. The idea is that in Path of Magic that we don't do things like forever. That you do one sword and you fight with it like for thousands of hours. That maybe not that swords will break, but you can empower a sword, but it will increase its level by 2 times. So, for example, if you have sword with level 4, it will be 8, then 16, then 32, and number below 100. But there is a chance that it will get broken. Also, there is a mechanic that when you're using 8 refineries, kilns, and smelters, and furnaces, then there is a chance that they will explode. But if you have any like forge extensions or cauldron extensions or workbench extensions around, then they will break first. It's like mechanic to not to have like permanent resources that you have built one build piece.
Yeah, the idea
It will be there forever.
The idea is to increase the replay value of a Valheim server in the long run with multiple players progressing at different spots. So this requires a lot of fundamental changes because Valheim itself just doesn't work that way. So Pan's describing the system that makes it so I view it as like a mini game out of base building. So on creative mode, for example, you could just build a base and nothing will happen to it. On Path of Magic, you can build a base, but then you have to maintain it. Not because it's getting raided by goblins or trolls or anything like that, but because sometimes the things you use, when you use them, they break and you don't get all of the material back. So you'll have to go get more Surtling cores, or go get more tin for the cauldron, or go get more whatever it is that you need. And the idea is that people really seem to like the Meadows, Black Forest, Valheim experience. So how can we make a more long-term replayable version of that lasts in current Valheim? And this is one of the mechanics, the general mentality, that we make things, the server, it sort of attrits the player, and it consumes things that they do and puts them in situations where they need to get more of something that normally they only needed one of, and then they could forget about it forever. And the idea is this makes the world feel more meaningful. But obviously that's up to players.
Okay, so when this mechanic started like destroying my forge extensions, I figured out that I can make like 10 or 20 grinding wheels, which are the cheapest extensions for the forge. Well, I can make them in some hidden place, so they don't hurt your eyes. And they will be broken fast, and they are very cheap because they are built from stone and wood. I'll show it later. Okay, so we are at the starting spot. Floor trading. We won't read every of these, but I need to say that this playthrough is also like past some things that are changed for the beginning player. For example, I think the tombs, the burial chambers are slightly harder. When I was playing as Panand, they were hard, but as Aki they had Draugs inside and rights, I think, but now they are slightly harder, in my opinion. Okay, so we are going through Skypath. Maybe I'll tap and show where we are on the map. Let's see this Rito. Here is spawn. We are around here. And Skypath goes so far like this, and has the real Skypath, the bridges over the ocean to Goblin Island, Yag Island, and to the like late game continent, the western continent. So right now we are at Meadows, around this place, and we'll be going in this direction, talking about how the progress went. And here is like one of the wonders of building, base built by Naoima. It was like very original. I have never seen someone build like this, because it is like cozy. It is not like one monolithic base or a few buildings, but it is like a small village.
Yeah, it's almost like a little town base, full of coziness and comfort.
It's a very nice place. Also, along the way, I would like to mention some mods I use. For example, when we see a somewhat broken fence, you can click on everything and repair it. But there is also, for example, I have a lot of places where I use iron beams inside walls. Yeah, but they are inside, so I can't touch them with the repair hammer. So there is mod. I think it is instant repair mod settings. Instant repair. Building repair. Okay, so it has repair radius, which makes me able to, by hitting one letter, to repair everything around.
Instead of clicking.
Yeah. So it is very useful. It can also do it like without workbench, but I didn't like turn it on. It has sensible default not to repair. If you use it without workbench, then you can like repair your boat while being attacked by serpents. So maybe it's more realistic just to die and not use this mod.
That's a good point to bring that up, actually. So that's another mentality thing on Path of Magic. I personally am fine with most mods. There's only certain situations that I recommend that people don't do certain things, and pretty much you are free to play how you want, even when you use mods that adjust or alter the experience in a way that makes the game easier for you. I don't frown upon that. But when players start interacting with other players in a way that harms the other player's experience, that's what I don't like. So as long as your usage of things is being respectful to other players' progression, who may not want to have something super powerful, etc., etc., and as long as you respect that, you're pretty much free to do what you want. You can come to Path of Magic on a brand new character or on an old character. It's really up to personal preference.
Okay, so this building repair isn't like destroying anything. Also, as you can see, I'm using the UI is slightly different. I'm using my little UI mod, and it makes there is like the hour and forecast and the day on the top right corner, and those icons like making Fjord, Fenris Blessing, Crested, Dirt Path are also shown in like smaller icons.
Yeah, it reduces the UI.
You can see Dirt Path 15%, and now it is Stone Path 40%. It is Speedy Paths mod. It is quite useful. You are 40% faster when on a stone or iron surface. It makes people build paths, so they make sense. Well, of course, it can be abused, which I did here, and I will show it in a minute. Because you can use them like offensively. When you go to the here is the Eichter place. So I built those paths so one can like traverse them while dodging the thunderstorm of Eichter. So it is like kind of controversial here.
Yeah, it works out in Palm though, because it would be silly of me to like not allow players to like try things out when I do so many controversial things or things that like might not seem logical at face
Well,
value.
we can try it and then like consider not using them or saying they are like bad etiquette. I also
Exactly.
added like double walls for dodging for
Yeah, it helps
dodging
balance everything.
extra.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go to the first base location.
And Speedy Paths is an interesting mod for that because um, Path of Magic has so many paths that if you're listening to this and you're a player who just like enjoys building, don't get turned off by the fact that it's on very hard mode and it is dangerous in these things, because it's not just about that. I would argue that like Path of Magic kind of tries to trick you into building if you don't like it. That's something I'm still trying to do more and more of. But the idea is that like peak Valheim experience is you're on a multiplayer server. There's other people on the server. They're not obsessed with boss progression. So they're not like rushing to the end of the game. They're just there and they'll come on an adventure with you sometimes, or you can go see what they're doing. And like to maintain that. That's like the kind of idea, but obviously that's hard to do over years, maybe easy to do for a month. And that's where all of these different mechanics and things come in to make the game more replayable and make it more rewarding to play with other people. So if you're interested in building, you can just use speedy paths and get around really quickly. And we have a couple players who do that kind of thing, and I don't think that's bad. Everybody has different ways to play. And again, as long as you're not like screwing other people over, I'm usually open-minded about it.
Yeah, so here's my like first base. I think I have made a mistake here because I destroyed this fence, and I think they are indestructible.
If you're lucky.
So some, oh no, they aren't. Okay.
It depends when I
Well,
placed them. The first ones I didn't have the sense to make them indestructible. So they were just like sticks pretty much. And then I was like, yeah, these are useful if they're indestructible. So everything after a certain point is indestructible.
I think it is quite important so that they are indestructible, like with the current state of Path of Magic, because, for example, in my feather base, this is base for my first playthrough, and in Aki's base, I like had 1-star wolf on the other side of the fence
There's
one
tons of
time.
undead too. That's what I've noticed because I've been doing my first character on Path of Magic since all the crazy stuff, right? And there are so many undead. I don't mind it, but I can see that I don't even fully understand how there's so many skeletons and undead, but I want to figure out how to increase the Grey Dwarf pressure a bit.
But they could have slightly more stars or be more numerous. Okay, so this is my base, and this part it was built later by other people. Let us go. Okay, there is like kind of public place. Biscuits to playing.
And I guess
Well,
in general with Path of
this
Magic, when you find a base, you're usually free to like chill there, and generally people join and they kind of explore and get a feel for things and go in other people's bases to find a spot that's like safe. And then once they do that and get a foothold, then maybe they'll go out and try and build their own place. But they usually start off by going into other people's bases. So when you join Path of Magic, don't be as worried about that. Like if something looks like it's freshly in use, don't take it. But aside from that, you can pretty much stay in anybody's base and use them as checkpoints along your adventure.
when we are talking about the mods. Okay, so I'm using also like a few people here. I think it's equipment and quick slots. So you have additional hotkeys, and also your personal stuff doesn't take up slots here. Also, I'm not sure if you noticed how I refilled this torch. have a torch. I didn't do it like this. I just clicked once. So it is Crafty Boxes mod. Shift E, full refill. It is well here is like 6 resin to be filled, but it is more important when you're feeling like clean with 25 wood. Yeah, as for crafting, it is Azumat's crafting mode. You can enter like we want 30 onion soups. It will be 30. In Bogwitch update, they added like this feature that if you hold shift and you make 5, but why not 30 from one go?
I think that also works in like all the other containers, right? Like if you're filling up the kiln, if you're filling up the iron into the smelter, it'll just take whatever ore and put it in, right? I think that's the same one I use.
Yeah, it's the same. Okay, so here is the sky path that leads south. Here the Black Forest starts, but let's go to the base of this Aki character we are seeing on screen.
So Pan's currently in the Town Meadows area, which when you spawn in Path of Magic, you can go south, just follow the path pretty much. And then you'll find this Meadows area, and there's these plots, there's some bases. This is like one of the safer areas. I try to keep the Meadows safe. I even removed the ghosts from tombstones here recently in these things, so the Meadows I want to keep safe. So when it's not safe in the Meadows, that's me making a mistake, and I haven't fixed it, and I apologize. But for the most part, this is a safe place. But then, as you saw earlier, he was right next to the Black Forest, and then there's this stone path, and that path goes all the way, it wraps all the way around huge quantities of the world, and you can access really deep parts of all sorts of different biomes. And that's sort of the idea, is like I played a lot of Valheim, and I felt like people don't get to experience a lot of the really deep, rich parts of Valheim, sort of because of how the Valheim mechanics are. So the idea with Path of Magic is to get people to not necessarily feel like it's totally different than Valheim, but that it has like the things in Valheim they like, and like more in a deeper way, a more long-lasting way. But obviously this is a consistent long-term effort that requires a lot of playtesting and different ideas.
I have like full-fledged indestructible boar fence. And here's the Black Forest, so it was very important when you're starting the game that you don't need to like abandon your base because you got raided by greys or wolves. I had like empowered wolf here once. Here is one smelter. It is like for some minor work. I usually do it en masse and use numbers 4 or more. Yeah, here is beehive abuse.
No, this is perfect. It's less instances. It's not abuse. This
It
is
is one.
that's ideal.
Why it's not? Oh, okay. Seeds aren't pollinated because usually when
Yeah, you're right. It's only crops.
when you have onions, turnips, or carrots near the beehive, then it says not like onion but pollinated onion, and you have like crazy amount of it from one plant. So I think this field would give us around 5,000 of onions.
That's a
If
lot
they
of soup.
weren't like seasonal onions. So they would go into obliterator, and this 1k 1,000 and almost 200 koalas is from burning plants. So maybe I'm not sure. Maybe you can like tone down the pollination bonus.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet because the idea with that, first off, it's a script from the config share in Valheim World Editing. There's actually a couple scripts related to beehives, but this one basically makes it so when you grow a crop near a beehive, it has a chance of giving you exponentially more. And the idea is that people are often influenced to create laggy situations. Lots of fields, not so much with those crops, but later on in the game, more so with things like barley in particular.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, it is good to have it like exponential, because if someone doesn't know about like plant everything, no crop utils or other mass planting mods, then they can have big crops with the pollinated stuff.
yeah, yeah, and a lot of the
Because
features have that in mind. Like we look at what mods players use, and in some situations we can make the server do that instead, so that the mod is no longer necessary. And ideally, like a lot of the things are like that. Also, side note, Ford is a player from before before any of the Expand World prefabs. He was here for like the initial Path to Ashland's launch and made this inn where everyone was received. So like it's really amusing to see what's happening to him as he's realizing that nothing is as he remembers it. I hope it's not too
also
much.
Fordals also mentioned serpents, and while the first path, it was before Path of Magic, which leads here. There was path to Ashland, so people would start the game around this area and would sail here, and then the progression would be from this place to the south. And when I joined, I was like, there was there were some temporary bases, not very advanced in this area. So it was like kind of like first person in these areas. Well, besides like temporary builds, um, without too many upgrades. And I think your idea was so people won't like go off the path. First is to make it dangerous and have the player plots, base plots here and there, and also was to make the selling very dangerous. So there are many serpents, but it has this consequence that, for example, as Panand playthrough, I was quite late to the serpent business.
Serpent business.
Baleog was first there, because and when I was playing as Aki, it was early Black Forest phase that I went for serpent hunting. So I sailed somewhere here to find Leviathan, to have a harpoon, because when it's very hard difficulty, you want to have like two meat foods usually. Well, there is this style that you can say that, oh, I always die in one shot, so I can have two staminas or three staminas. But I think it is better for skill progression of your character to have like two meats, or maybe sometimes three meats. For example, if you're going into into burial chambers, because you can make one mistake more, which is a lot. And I think that good strategy for early game progression, like Meadows Black Forest, which is quite a long time, is to preserve your skills, like not die too much, like to care that your bow skill and some main weapon skill goes up in a consistent manner. So back to the serpents, in vanilla Valheim, it is kind of annoying with the serpents. You want their meat, you go sailing at night because they are only at night, and then you have 2 nights sailing and you don't encounter any, or it despawns. Here there is plenty of serpents. They have stars, so you can go fishing, and from one serpent you have two plain steer meat meals. So serpent stew and cooked serpent. But you need like high level cauldron and iron for it. Maybe silver or black marble. But Puff Magic you can either buy those materials or have them in item drop from killing mobs or in a chest maybe. Okay, so like so I spent some time in the meadows, and then I went to Black Forest, and the Black Forest phase for Aki for this character was quite long. Because like there is a lot of things that you can do to improve your survival chances. For example, do I have a trader here? I thought I have a blacksmith.
Basement Dvergr. Or
Uh,
basement Dvergr.
the dwarf. Yeah, there was I think there was a blacksmith here, or a trader. Okay, he's not here. So you can have a blacksmith to upgrade weapons or just temper them so they don't break so quickly. For example, fine with bow. Okay, so here is the shipmaster. I think I'm using it as a trader because it is Black Forest here.
And
Small dog.
on Path of Magic, you can summon Dvergr, and they have different purposes. And the idea, as I mentioned before, is we're trying to get players to have more reasons to build things. So by giving Dvergr utility, we encourage players to build spaces and do things with the Dvergr in their bases. They have to keep the Dvergr contained, keep it alive, etc., etc. Otherwise, they'd lose access to the mechanic. So Pan right now is at the Dvergr that allows you to sell fish for money, but all of the Dvergr act as general traders. So there's certain things that you can toss full stacks of, and they'll just swap it for either coins or something else, just right there.
So you can get some iron in the Black Forest. One way is by mining copper, because there is also like partial drop of iron there from there, or you can by using the floor trading. You drop a certain amount of coins on the floor and do say buy, and the coins should be swapped to, for example, 30 or 15 iron. I forgot the number. It is a good help to get, for example, a fine wood bow, but I wouldn't buy 200 iron to do full armor, for example. Okay, so I summoned Fishmonger here for 1,000 coins, but then I did some fishing to make some fishing rods, but also to sell fish to Fishmonger. So there is a point in fishing here. When you want to you're tired of fighting, you can build or go fishing, for example. Okay, so maybe let's go to one place that I also set up in the Black Forest progression. Like to produce some bronze. smelt metals. So here's the sky path, here's the first script. Here's the path toward my manufacturing place. Someone put fence here so it doesn't get bypassed by mobs going out. Or the blessed Grey Dwarf stone, which is an easy way to get blocking bubble.
So if you noticed when he blocked there, he gets a bubble, and then the visual effects disappears, and that's just because it's a pain playing Valheim with that bubble around your character the entirety of your playthrough. Trust me. So that's why we got rid of it. But basically what happens is in normal Valheim, when you have the setting to very hard or whatever, it pretty much negates melee and to a certain point range, and magic is crazy powerful. So the three combat styles are not balanced in traditional Valheim. So the idea on Path of Magic is to buff melee, blocking, and ranged enough to meet the power of magic. And this mechanic that you're seeing is part of a few things that make melee combat and blocking more manageable against particularly starred enemies. And it also incentivizes using health food, because you get, basically, if you can survive one attack and block, you'll get a bubble, and then you can't die in the next hit. So you get invulnerability once. Obviously, then you'll be able to die in a second hit. But the idea with this is that way, no matter where you are in the game, you can block and be in a defensive position where you're not as easy to kill. And as long as you're focused, you'll be able to stay alive with that bubble. Even if there is a wraith that's 2 stars waiting for you at the entrance of the dungeon you're doing, you just go find a greyling, get that bubble, and then run in and eat that hit from the wraith and then get to where you need to go. So there's always a way to make things work if things are balanced. And the other part of this mechanic, if you've noticed, when he kills an enemy nearby him, it actually heals him. So if the enemy dies and you are within a couple meters of them, you will get a significant refill of your stamina and of your health. And the idea for this is to keep more reasons for people to be doing melee, because otherwise the whole melee thing just falls out the wazoo by Ashlands on very hard mode.
Also, it is worth parrying and blocking, but often with a hard enemy, you can do that. So when you have a Grey Dwarf around or some weaker creature, it is sometimes purposeful and useful to make them stay around you, so you can get bubbles. Also, you can use them once, and then you have to care about redoing the bubble, because you can, for example, for renewing the bubble, you need to block and you need to survive. But if you had a bubble already, you can, for example, get hit by 20,000 damage. It won't matter, because you just lost your bubble and you gain another bubble. There is not that much rug. No,
The
there
undead
is,
forest.
but it looks different.
Ah, it's Muck. This is actually one of the newer players.
Yeah, newer players that are promising, because we can say they are promising because they survived, like they didn't quit after 30 minutes.
That is pretty common, actually, for someone to join, and it seems to be all about communication pretty much. So as long as they know what they're getting into and not to like if I mismanage their expectations, then they can get really frustrated. But if they know that like it's not quite like the Valheim they're used to, they can't like use the same mentality and stay alive. But we'll see. One of the hardest things to communicate about Path of Magic is the fact that like I get it's on very hard and it's no map and no portal, but that's not to make it hard. That's to make it more like an MMO in a world that lasts a long time. It's about how it feels. But sometimes Path of Magic can attract people who are used to like the very hardcore mode, never die situation, and those people tend to not really enjoy Path of Magic that much. Just from my personal observations. Generally, if you're a person who can die and be amused by it, you're probably going to have a better time. And remember that the experience rates removal is reset and everything. So the only thing that happens is when you die, you lose your progress to the next level.
I forgot to mention the place we visited with a lot of loot and like the broken place. It was my mining place. I would set it up near the tin and copper to have easy logistics. So I would use like 6 or 7 kilns and or smelters there.
Oh my god. Sorry. I'm kind of miserable right now. So much is happening, dude. I don't know what to, they're like, okay, I'm in someone's like little mini base hut thing. There was an empowered shaman. There are 2 billion fuelings. It's when I was like running away from where I was killing serpents. I'm still like on the path and I don't know where anyone is. And right now I'm like trying to handle all these fuelings in Silver Age armor. Oh my god.
It must be insane for you in particular, because Ford played a lot on Path to Ashlands, which was like 3 ages ago on this server. And Path of Magic changed loads of mechanics and loads of other things, and has a whole other play area, but it all links to the same path forward. So the Hilders Meadow area that we sort of started on and that Great Migration and things, in the modern server, the Path of Magic, it actually does start at the center of the world, and there's like a path there, and you just keep following that path, and there's loads of other things. But all the stuff you guys built and everything is still in those other places. So it functions as like people find the bases, but the fire modifier is on, so do keep that in mind. We've had issues where
I've noticed, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying my best not to like end up causing destruction to people's builds as I'm trying to like take a refuge. It's really, really rough.
In general, if there's trees inside the base, that means that it hasn't been used in long enough that it wasn't cleared when I reset all of the trees a month or 2 ago. So if there's trees inside the base, you don't have to be as concerned if you mess it up. But obviously in general, like, it's not your fault if you go into a base that's already built and you just put some fire in the campfire and then it burns the whole house down when you leave. You know, I mean, like, you don't know any better. And
okay, but will it be okay with the hearths? Are those fine?
It's not okay with anything, man. I saw torches burn down part of Indo's tower.
You're joking.
No. I don't know. The torches barely seem to do it, though.
Island with Terminators built, and there is a very nice wooden round tower, but it has a bonfire inside of it. And the bonfires have very high range of burning things, so it's like...
So what I'm hearing is that if I want to make any build that with like cooking, it needs to be surrounded entirely by stone. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, things are more flammable.
Well,
yeah,
it's not that bad if you don't use bonfires.
They're the
Health is
worst by
fine.
far. It's true. The bonfires do it a lot, like maybe 4 or 5 times as much as the other fire sources, and also fire arrows. So like if you just accidentally shoot your roof with one single stray fire arrow, it will create 2 embers, which will then proceed to burn the whole house down. So you have ways to put out fires.
Good.
And if you kick or if you roll, it'll probably put out all the fires nearby, unless, you know.
With
That is
bonfire,
interesting.
do you see the screen? Because I think this location for bonfire would be bad, and the sign on the left would burn.
Give me a second. I see.
But with hearth, I think this would be probably fine.
All right, I see.
But there is
So base-
also a lot of ashwood, and you can buy ashwood.
is ashwood immune to flames?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. All right, that makes things easier. I actually don't even know anything about the Ashlands, which is really funny given I was
Yes,
playing for it.
same as me. My first Ashlands encounter was on the server.
So speaking of everything, I have killed so many serpents on this little path I'm following, and I don't have any way to carry all the meat. I have like multiple stacks of meat, and I don't want it to go to waste or anything.
Well, I think you can make it waste because there is a lot of. Well, if you have 200 coins, you can buy a card. You throw them on the floor and say buy. But for example, I'm in my base. I have like.
Am I able to sell
two-
serpent scales? Really?
Yeah,
yes,
you
yes.
can
So
sell serpent
serpent
scales.
scales have value, and serpent meat after a certain point, it is like kind of raw.
Empowered Goblin
I
Shaman
have like
packets.
200 or 300 serpent stews in my base. So I'm
People get serpents
ignoring
through like
serpent
straight
meat.
away pretty much, because even the serpents can fight each other. So I don't know if you saw the other serpents, but there's like multiple things that can happen in the ocean. And the idea is that, like, I have to remember on Path of Magic, people are going to try and play it like regular Valheim. And so when I tell people the oceans are dangerous, not to go there and to follow the path, they're going to ignore me, get in their boats, and then sail out into the ocean. So it's at that point where the server has to educate them that this isn't regular Valheim. So it has to be so dangerous that they can't like keep track of where they are. And so the idea is not necessarily that you just die, it's that you have to go with the wind and get away from what happened. But in your case, you were ready.
Ashlands. I mean, so with Path to Ashlands, that's already how it felt even before any of this. But I think like if you remember the original migration, it was kind of miserable with everyone trying to figure out where to go, and then everyone was kept getting lost, and I thought that was really fun. But
I mean,
definitely
Ford is from the part of the server's timeline where I was trying to make paths with a player's tools, like not like making big paths that cross entire oceans. Like, so I don't think he's aware of any of like the stuff that happened later on. So it'll be really interesting seeing, because now Pan is from like it's kind of like the beginning era of Path of Magic, a bit after Baleog. Baleog's like one of the original Path of Magic people, and some other players as well. Teens and Star have been there for a really long time. You recognize their names, I'm sure. But Ford's from like way in the beginning, like very beginning. So it's really cool how like the different experiences
They
are
also
coming together.
played your dev server.
I don't know if they all did, to be honest. I think some of them knew about it, but I didn't like try and mingle those.
I don't think I played on that one. How do you sell something like serpent scales?
Serpent scales you can sell to a fishmonger, so you need to be near water, and someone a trader You can do it by building a stack of 1,000 coins on the ground and saying trader.
Okay, I see. I'll do that in a second. I honestly,
They buy full stacks only, just so you know.
right. Yeah, I read that.
They buy fish, I think by one and by 5 or by 3. But scales are by full stacks.
I don't remember actually. I vaguely feel like Dakar gave me some math that made it just pay for any stack with the fish, but I don't remember. So I know for sure one fish at a time works. I don't know if using multiple fish works. But I guess the idea, it's a good time to talk about this now, because anyone listening, like you're genuinely interested, so we can talk about the coins. Because basically, the idea is to get people in these loops where they're incentivized to like explore and build bases in different places, almost purely for the fun of it. But we have to kind of like change a lot about Valheim to make the experience fun enough that that just happens. And one of the main things that I like to focus on is the coins, because Valheim already has a loot system where you do dungeons and you get coins and rubies and necklaces and, you know, whatever. The problem, though, is that it's basically worthless. It becomes trash incredibly quickly, and there's pretty much no reason to have a lot of coins. Like, maybe you get a belt, okay. You may accumulate hundreds of thousands of coins. You can spend 720 of it, like, maybe 1,000, 2,000. Like, it's very broken, to be honest. So by targeting the coin system, we make it so we answer that basic question. Because if coins feel useful, then everything that gives you coins or something that can turn into coins is useful. And that's part of the strategy. Basically, everything the players do, depending on their different play styles, whether they farm or build or fight or explore, that should result in accumulation of something that they can sell to purchase building materials, making a loop of building something by buying the materials with the coins, exploring, doing dungeons, etc., etc. That's what I'm going for in general with the currency systems, and that's why you can sell fish, that's why you can sell things to traders. It's all about figuring out which items in Valheim are worthless, they feel pointless, they feel like they don't matter, and which items feel really worthwhile. A good example for a vanilla Valheim player would be iron. Iron bars, in general, are one of the more valuable feeling things for people. Not always, but for most players, iron is the thing they may run out of, especially when they get into building. So the idea is, how do we make most items in Valheim feel that way? And a lot of it has to do with coins and making things sellable, but not just like, you can't just buy anything. You can't just sell anything. It always has to keep in mind like the kind of overall balance of things, and if there's too many item sinks, that's a problem. If there's too many sources, that's a problem. So it's still a work in progress, but whenever you hear them talking about buying, that's what they're talking about. In general, you can just throw coins on the floor, and if you throw the right amount and you say buy, you can purchase building materials, and then you can build something. So instead of moving around a bunch of building materials, you can move around a cart full of 8,000 coins, and then you can go find a magical spot and build something really cool there by buying the stuff that you need through the floor trading system. And then when you run out of coins, you can do anything you like to do in normal Valheim, whether that's fishing, doing exploration, doing dungeons, fighting, etc. You can make arenas to fight raids in with the trophy raid system. So this is how we give the players ways to do other things to get the same stuff. And that's the gist of the mentality.
Also, for the others, you said you are using the mountain armor, like the wolf set, right?
Not the so I'm using Drake helmet, wolf fur cape, wolf hide trousers, and root harness sack.
Okay. Uh, Here there is this. It is very hard mode, so it might help only a little. But there is this empowering mechanism. So you can have, like, for example, like I have here now, Fenris code, which gives 40 armor. It has level 16. Or 32 armor on Fenris leggings. It has level 12. Originally, you can only upgrade it to like level 4 or 3, I think 4. But you can use the dwarf or the Dvergr blacksmiths to empower, which also has the risk of breaking this thing you're empowering. So it's kind of like the item thing,
I see.
and this leads us to Valheim Wiki, and you can see that every armor a metal set.
By the way, how do you sell an item again?
It depends. So there's a chart in Discord. What are you trying to sell?
I'm trying to sell serpent scales to the fishmonger.
Okay, so you have to take a stack of 50 and just throw them at him. But he has to have a table, like I think it's a fine wood table. So if you build a fine wood table, then basically you throw the fish on the table, and then he'll be like, I could give you this. And then if you don't take it, he swaps it for the coins. That's how it's supposed to work, at least.
I see. I do not have a table. I am in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, a lot of them are like that. They each like ask you some annoying thing you have to make, and then it's like, I get played by that myself at one of the quests, because you can get these 4 unique ships. So actually, for serpent hunting, there's a boat that has 360 slots of inventory space in it. So there you go. That's your serpent hunting boat, I suppose. It's supposed to be a base moving boat, but you could use it for serpent hunting. But so what Pan's showing is the empowering system, which is a good transition, by the way, because the empowering system is the like best, most effective accidental sync of everything that was implemented in Path of Magic, and it was completely just based on some math thing that Jere posted as a feature, and then we were just like, what if we did this? So that sounds ridiculous. And so in Path of Magic, the maximum level of an item is 96 or something like that. So in normal Valheim, it's 4. But you don't get it to that level by upgrading it. Instead, you do what Pan's talking about, where you get a Dvergr blacksmith, and then you buy an empower chance from them, basically, and he tries to empower it when you give him a treasure chest. So that means silver necklaces. And each time he tries to empower it, one of 2 things will happen. He's either going to destroy your weapon and YOLO it into oblivion, and you're never seeing that thing again. It's gone. You got to rebuild it. Or he's going to double its quality level. So if you have a level 8 weapon and you empower it, you could lose it, or you could get a level 16 weapon. If you have a level 16 weapon and you empower it, you could lose it, or you could get a level 32.
Okay, so this leads us to the calculation of what to empower, because as you can see, there is this flametal set, but every armor, like the passive armor, the helmet, breastplate, leggings, or like greaves, they look at the change: 40, 42, 44. So it is only 2 armor per level, and other thing is that these things is expensive. You need refined either, and you need a lot of flametal. If you're aiming for max level of 64, you need to do 4 empowers from the level 4. Oh no, you can't, because you for this one, because you can't have level 4 like by regular upgrade. So, but if you want to have something level 94, you need to start upgrading from empowering from level 3. So it's 3, 6, 12, 24, 48, and then 94. But to do 5, I once did calculation for the flametal, like one piece. It would be like crazy amount of flametal, over 2,000, I think. And it is quite bad, because it only gives you two armor per level. Like it is, and if we look at bucklers, for example,
And so what Ford's pointing out actually shows that pretty much the empowering system doesn't equally make everything as strong. So you would think that the strongest item or the strongest armor would be like level 96 flame metal armor. But you would be surprised how strong, let's say, level 96 Fenring or level 96 Trollhide is. And considering how much...
it would be weaker, but
Yeah,
there's
but you
also
could get
the
it,
context
right? You
of
could get
the
the
cost.
materials. Whereas to getting all that flame metal and all those resources to make all those successful empowers, that's a huge amount of effort. Whereas getting, you know, a couple hundred trollhide and some bone fragments, like, I mean, that's just black forest trash, right? So you can more easily make high level of lower gear than you can make the higher level of the higher gear. But Pan's going to show you how the shields and the weapons are really the things that the empowering system impacts. The armor doesn't, yeah, it's a little bit helpful, but really the weapons and the shields are what get really buffed up by the empowering.
I need to know the best level wooden club on the server.
I don't think anyone's properly done that yet, to be honest.
I have a new goal.
What do you mean? Like, what is most powerful, or what?
Yeah, he's asking if someone's got a wooden club to 96.
No, wooden club. Well, it would be quite good. Well, the wooden club, level 96 would be quite good, because, for example, when we compare iron buckler and carapace buckler and bronze buckler, when at level, like, it is kind of the same thing at higher level, because you have this calculation. It has block armor of 28 at level 1. At level 2 it has 6 more. So it is 22 plus 6 times level. So when the level is very high, then this initial value is like, it doesn't matter. So
What is Groston?
Wait, is this thing working?
Hey, we can hear you now, Val.
A
So if you're talking about weapons, you need a Dunder as high level as you can get it.
I guess one other thing too, we didn't mention. Sorry to interrupt you, Val. I'll just clarify. I meant to earlier. So the cost of empowering is relatively expensive. You need to make one treasure chest and you lose it. So that means that when you empower weapons, players tend to empower things that are like sort of strong enough in the first place to justify that. I think that's probably why we haven't seen like that many empowered clubs and like, you know, early level stuff, because you'd have to spend a bunch of treasure chests on the item to do that, and you may as well, from their perspective, do that on a stronger weapon, because there's like a counterbalancing where later on the cost of the weapons and armor becomes prohibitive. but early on, it's the cost of the empower.
The cost grows exponentially because when you want one empower for a club, technically, in average, you need two clubs. One will go fine, and one will explode. So when you want something, it will have like you were from level 3, it will have level 6, but then you need to empower to level 12. So you need two clubs on average of level 6. So you need to craft four clubs of level 3 to obtain one of level 12, and on and on. And you need to do 5 empowers, so it is quite a lot of resources. And not only the treasure chests, which is silver necklaces, money, and rubies, but also the main materials here. So if we look at iron buckler, at level 3, it costs 20. Well, ancient bark you can ignore because it is cheap. You need to find a big enough swamp, that's all. So the main resource is iron. 1, 2, 3. It is 25 iron for one buckler. It is not a lot. You can mine it, you can buy it. But if we look at, for example, Scourging Slayer, so I can make like 10 iron bucklers and start empowering them. But if you look at Scourging Slayer, like the two-handed sword, it is made from, where are the materials? You need to first make Slayer and use Yolit, and Yolits are quite rare. And the resource of Slayer costs you at the advertisement costs you a lot of raw metal and also Asquinhide and Morgan sinew, so like more expensive. But the most prohibitive part here, I think, is Yolit. So you can, for example, a good buckler, right? For example, you have iron buckler, bronze buckler, and carapace buckler. Bronze buckler is kind of annoying because bronze you need to tin and copper, so to work. Iron is much more accessible. Carapace buckler has more block armor, but you need carapace, scale height, and either. So I would say that this either part is most expensive here because you need like
Right.
2 ingredients for the refinery. And I was testing Carapace buckler. I have it like on level 24. It is kind of annoying. It has a bad thing. It has block force 50, but then it progresses to 55. And it is annoying because you block someone or parry, and they jump back. So before you go there to kill them, they will stop being staggered. And for iron buckler, block force is 30 all the time. And it is also a cheaper thing. So as Aki, I'll spend some time with with empowering iron bucklers. So got one with level 96, and empowers. It's much more efficient than buying than empowering armor, because like when we were at like every passive armor has only 2 armor per level of upgrade, and here you have +6. Level 1 is 28, and here it is 6 more.
I see.
But it is not only 6. It is 6 when you block, but when you parry, there is also this parry bonus. So this leads us to calculations. This maybe I will increase.
Sorry, I'm sorry I'm not saying much. I am dealing with an entire like league of enemies chasing me.
Don't worry, you're fine.
Okay, so
We're recording a video, so don't worry too much.
Oh, okay.
I could make
I
a
think
classic mistake of not eating. Okay, so, either way, I wanted to show this. Maybe it's not a chart, but it's kind of like it. This is these are enemies we face on Path of Magic. For example, in vanilla, well, now you don't encounter Wolf 2-star or quite often, or yeah. So this is ordering from weakest attack to strongest, and sometimes no, I think I didn't annotate it with the bucklers. So if you have like fully upgraded but not empowered Flametal set, I think you can. It will give you around 100 or I'm not sure 130 armor. So you can, I guess, survive hit by these creatures. But when you do the calculation about the bucklers, this 20 for iron buckler, it is 22 block armor plus 6 times level. So with only 1 empower, you can parry a fooling, like almost, and not that far away. It's level 24, where you can parry a berserker with 1 star, which would be, I think, impossible in vanilla. And the thing is that with only level 12 of Iron Buckler, you can fight Foolings, like get the bubble from Fooling, and then face Berserker and rebubble on its slow attack. So
I think from a game design perspective, this is really, really cool. It gives, even like ignoring all the other stuff, it gives a lot more reason to use the lighter armors for players that might not typically choose that. Because, like, obviously the lighter armors in Vanilla Valheim are really good, and in this one we have like the armor set bonuses for the heavier ones. But in Valheim, there's a lot of people who just prefer having the extra security of heavier armors, and then I feel like this kind of thing just allows you to experiment a lot more with your armor choices because it's your strength is not in the armor; it's in your when you upgrade your shield, right? Like
yeah, it is not passive armor that you can walk around and everyone is hitting you and nothing happens. It is like you need to take some effort and show some anticipation and skill, because you can't just hit block. Sometimes you need to parry, and you need to be facing the enemy, etc. You can't parry some fooling who's hitting from behind. So it is quite well done. Well, we have empowering, we have, for example, access to black marble in Black Forest or even in Meadows. Possibly you can always buy it, but what is great about Valheim, it is the game defense itself. Like, you won't break the game if you have 30 iron on you in Meadows, or that you have like higher level cauldron because you could find silver in a few mob drops.
Yeah, that's something that on Path of Magic there's lots of, like, you get a little bit of something that you will get a lot more of later, and you can use that little bit to make something earlier on before you gain access to like the the bulk amount of the metal, right? So it is true though in Path of Magic, like if you're used to normal Valheim progression, you'll be confused because you get a lot of stuff in the Black Forest and the Meadows, and you could literally make your whole entire playthrough just in the Black Forest and the Meadows and build Ashland stuff and do the Dvergr traders and do dungeons and never go into the rest of the game, and you'd still be able to get almost, well, no, all of the building resources. So the idea is like instead of trying to force players to go do different things, we're accommodating lots of the different play styles, and while doing that, encouraging people to build and be communal and share things, because that's sort of what Valheim shines doing, at least from my perspective. So about, sorry, you mentioned earlier something, and your volume was set too low, so I adjusted it. So if you wanna, did you want to comment about the empowering system? And you're muted if you're speaking, but also maybe you're not able to. Oh, there you go.
Oh, who, me? Oh, he was just asking what the most powerful thing was. If you're going to make anything, make a thunder and a staff of fracturing, and then watch
Yeah.
the silliness.
Do you want to share what that was like? Because those were the ones that you. What was it like from when, like, I showed you empowering? What happened?
I went through a couple weapons and decided those were my two favorite, and then dumped everything I had into that. So that was the whole goal: was I would do frost caves, get what is it, the jewelry chest, and then just gamble stuff. And that was the whole game for a while, and it's still the whole game now.
That's one of the ideas, is that like people have different preferences, but oftentimes we force them into certain playstyles by making daggers this or spears that or armor this or armor that. But by giving players an almost unfair way to improve their equipment, we can allow players who like things that are normally weaker to use them more consistently. And we can also allow other players who like other things to still use those without invalidating each other. So, as Bao mentioned, he found his favorite weapons and empowered them a bunch, and he's been able to do a lot of the like stuff that you can really only do if you have really empowered weapons, like the actual boss fight.
As for weapons, I would often use Dvergr, which is great at handling crowd control situations, but it is kind of like low skill thing, kind of, and you can't parry. So so in this playthrough, I'm not using it, and I have buckler plus knife or a sword. I also want to see which one will be like better at the higher level. The issue with knife is that it has weak empower, but I think it might be counterbalanced by the fact that it attacks fast, and usually will be staggering in the first hit, and then following up quickly with shots with the bonus for stagger. Okay, and for empowering, this whole mechanic brought me browsing the Valheim wiki, which is best thing to empower. So bucklers are best as for armor, because they have like +6 per level, and also it gets multiplied if you parry it. You have +6, and it is multiplied by 2.5. But then one goes to the weapons. So Bale mentioned Staff of Fracturing. It has +6 fire per level, but it is only per one ball. It has 12 times this. So if you have it is like 96 times 6 times 12, so it is quite big damage. And when you're browsing stuff, well, as you can see, you have two primary attack has two components, blunt and fire, and only one of them is increased by level. You find games like Mistwalker, which has both slash is the same, but you have frost and spirit. Although it will be kind of bad against like winter creatures, although they are weak in general. You can have like bow and secondary weapon to deal with wolves or drakes. But for like Mistland and Ashlands, the endgame mobs, I think it should be the best weapon because you get +5 spirit per level and +6 frost. So at level 96, you have two stats with +6, which is quite powerful. And spirit also has on Path of Magic special effect on the undead and charred.
So what Pan's been covering the nuances of is the fact that while the quality level is the same, like it's level 96, it's level 96, each weapon has different attributes, and those attributes do not scale equally as they level up. So when you take a weapon that has silver and slash damage, for example, you can look closer at the upgrade differences, as Pan was just doing, and see, okay, every time you level it up, what actually changes? Because some of the weapons, they may have some elemental damage and some pierce damage, but then when you actually empower it, it's almost totally elemental damage and barely any pierce, or the opposite. It really depends on each individual weapon, and there's a lot of nuance to it, which is what Pan has been explaining.
So it is a powerful weapon to empower, but there's also the context. What is the cost? Wisps are kind of infinite. It is iron, but it's much iron. Okay, to level 3, it's not that bad. It is kind of like 35, so more than Ironbacker, but it is bearable. There's a lot of Either, so the Either would be here most difficult to, like hard to get. But this empowering system and bubble block system kind of makes two-handed weapons in Path of Magic weaker. For example, let's look at Chrome, because the Chrome has like in vanilla Valheim, Chrome is better because it has high value of 150, and then you can bring it up to 168. But with empowering, it will have like 150 plus 95 times 6. And it won't be much more than some one-handed sword. And here it attacks slowly, and you can't parry mistlands or even planes mobs with it. So if you would talk other time about balancing weapons, we could have, for example, I'm not sure, maybe make them less prone to explosions when I'm empowering. I'm not sure.
It's possible. It would be more complicated because right now, like, you can try and empower anything, it just won't work if it's not like weapons or armor, and you lose the money. So there isn't like making it actually filter to be like, okay, this is this prefab, makes it like it's possible. It's just adding more nuance and adjustment to it. But in general, that makes sense, that there's like certain things that basically like should be easier to get through empowering, and other things that can be harder. But this is all stuff that will be continuously play tested. And so Pan, I'll need to end the recording pretty soon. Is there anything you want to share to finish up on?
Well, I don't have any like final thoughts. We have covered like first part of the progression up to Black Forest. Well, partly. Well, wrapping up the progression up to Black Forest, I would say it is most important to preserve your skill and not die too often, like to stick to one or two weapons. Also, rushing to, I'm not sure, like what's that rush? Like to swamps or burial chambers too early, I think is not advised. There's a lot of like improvements to be done. For example, food, you can get high level cauldron, start hunting serpents after obtaining harpoon. You can also have like three useful traders, one blacksmith, one Black Forest trader for buying arrows, and also a fishmonger to help you with money issues sometimes. So I wouldn't rush to other biomes. Here in Black Forest, there's a lot of hard enemies and a lot of work to be done. It's quite fun. And we also covered the empowering, how it works on weapons, how it works especially on bucklers, that we are able to survive hits from starred ashlands and mistlands mobs by using both bubble and highly empowered bucklers.
And that's these are things that are really helpful in the beginning, particularly the knowledge of like, okay, bubble blocking is kind of how you stay alive, and that if you try and play Path of Magic just like Valheim, you're gonna get frustrated, and you need to remember basically, and I need to remind people through Path of Magic that it is different, right? So it is Valheim, but if you just play it like Valheim, it's probably gonna kill you. And you have to sort of learn to expect that it might not work the same way, and don't just assume that it's going to be what you're used to. It's probably better to assume that it is not what you're used to at all. And do any of the rest of you want to make any closing comments?
I think this seems really cool, and I'm excited to try a lot of it. I feel like there's a lot of value within this idea of not restricting, because normal Valheim, a lot of it, I mean, anytime I ever play it myself, I lose steam later on, because it's like I feel like I'm not working towards much, especially past like the early biomes. I feel like it's being able to use some of the weapons and stuff you have earlier on, and then expand on it for the future, is really, really, really good. I think it's really good game design philosophy, not gameplay.
No, you hit the nail on the head. That's the idea, really. And like that's something to keep in mind with Path of Magic, is that it's not like it's just something like I made. This is an accumulation of like a lot of people's experiences, and also my experiences and my beliefs, but other script makers in Valheim world editing, and what I'm seeing Pan's screen. It looks like something's went wrong there. But it's an accumulation of everything, and the players play a big role there. There's a lot of features that start out as a player just saying that something like, what if this happened? Or why can't I do this? And then oftentimes we're like, you can do that. Like, now you can build goblin stuff just by using a special say command, and it'll swap things out for you. And that was really easy to do. It just took me one afternoon to make that script, and now the players can build the goblin pieces that they couldn't build before without having any mods or anything else. They just have to know how to do it in Path of Magic. And that is something that's really, really powerful, and it's thanks to Jere and Irongate for making the game, and then all the other people in Valheim world editing, because the Path of Magic projects just couldn't have happened without all of their consistent help and support, especially people like Dvergr and Raka. They've personally helped me a lot. So if you're interested in playing on Path of Magic, it is free to join. You just need to find the link in any of the YouTube content for the Poolside Discord. And that's going to give you access to the Poolside Discord server, which is a community server that Splash of Pain and Captain Crumbs invited me to a year or so ago. So I've been here since then. And once you're in there, you'll need to look for the JP Valheim section, and you'll be able to get the IP information for the Path of Magic server. And as I mentioned, anybody can join. As long as the server isn't currently full, you can get in. And once we start hitting that ceiling, I've already had all the negotiations and everything set up, so I'll just increase the player limit to 20. I just have to hit it and show them, and then they'll give me a bigger server, pretty much. So we don't really need to worry about that. We just have to worry about when a lot of players are in the same area, because as everyone knows, Valheim has issues with that. But for the most part, as long as there's only 2 or 3 players around each other, and you don't have like 7 or 8 players all in the same chunk, it's manageable, even if there's like 10 people online. But we'll have to see how it goes, because since I started the live streaming, the server has been much more active. It was active before, but like maybe like 1 to 4 people per day, whereas now, I mean, there's been a lot of people.
I think right now there's like 7 on, at least.
Yeah, that's more than before. Also because I'm not even online. Alright everybody, thanks for watching, and if you want to join, just look for that link. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye! Another episode of the Path of Magic. All of the crazy nonsense that you've been seeing so far has been done with Expand World Prefabs. Expand World Prefabs is a fantastic server-side BepInEx mod developed by Jere. And if it wasn't for Jere's hard work, none of this would be possible. So I strongly encourage you to support Jere if you can. And if you're interested in supporting my work, there's 2 ways that you can do so. By getting your own dedicated Valheim server at Zap Hosting. I've got lots of tutorials showing you how to set everything up, and it doesn't even take that long. All you'll need to do is go to the link in my description, zaphosting.com/jpvalheim. That'll get you set up with the BepInEx server straight away, and then you just need to change a couple config files, and I have all of the information that you need for that. The second way is to support me on Patreon, and you can just check out the link in the description below if you're interested in doing that. I understand that some of you might want to support me, but, you know, you're not going to get a server to do so, so here you go. Now you have a way to do it. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to see you in the next episode of The Path of Magic. Bye-bye.